Hey Soul Family, it's Akemi. This is the Kemi Kai Inner Beauty, where we change and improve our outer world by improving our inner world. I like to talk about law of assumption and inner work. So today I wanted to talk about what's the difference between law of attraction, manifesting, and law of assumption. So you may have heard about um, law of attraction ever since a long time ago when the movie The Secret came out. And if that's your kind of where you left off with manifestation, then what you might be familiar with is just this kind of idea like if you want to change your life, if you want to manifest something, you're just like going along in your life and then you decide, I want to manifest something different. So you get out a vision board and you cut out a bunch of pictures and you put it on your vision board and you're like, I'm going to focus my emotions and my feeling state on manifesting this thing. That may or may not have worked for you in the past, but law of assumption is different because law of assumption is a completely different view on how reality is working. And so you're always manifesting 24/7. You're manifesting. That's how this place is. Actually, what is around you is a picture, an external picture of what's going on inside your mind, inside your assumptions and your self-conversations, your self-talk. So if you want to change anything out there, you have to change it first in here in order for it to catch up in your outer world. So that means it's like helpful to think of it like a hologram. You know, I drew this picture. I love this picture that I drew. It's just a scribble, okay? But it helps me a lot to get my head around what law of assumption actually is, because you'll hear people talk about everything is you pushed out. But I found that myself, I was finding that hard to kind of get my head around, and I was having a lot of trouble switching from my thinking of reality being like, if you grew up in a Western country or had parents who were Westerners anyway, with some kind of a Christian kind of influence, then you were pretty much taught as a kid that like, you came down to this place, you're here for one lifetime, you are like kind of a victim of everything that's happening. It's all kind of happening to you, and you have no control over the world or of what shows up in your reality. You're just kind of a victim of everything that's going on. And maybe the best you can do is like try to be a good person and try to have like good personality characteristics or qualities like as you go through life or something like that. But actually what law of assumption is radically different. And I think it can help to watch some movies that were like famous, like maybe The Truman Show or the Matrix series or something like that. And how I like to think of it, and a lot of people are talking nowadays about quantum physics and how there's a multiverse. You could look at that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Doctor Strange is another good one to watch. So you're getting this like image of reality being really different than maybe how past generations thought of reality and how they trained us as we were growing up on what reality is and our relationship to it and how we interact with it. So with that changing, it radically changes our idea of how to manifest things in our outer world. So the law of attraction was like kind of challenging this idea that you're born into the world, everything's just happening to you, and if you want to change something, you gotta like work hard. I have a good work ethic and like physically do things to make changes in the physical realm around you, right? Like law of attraction was challenging that and kind of saying that, you're attracting things to you based on your vibrations, say. So your emotional state will attract other things into your say like in the same way that a planet would attract asteroids and things around it in its orbit, would be like you're attracting things of a similar vibration into your life. So for law of attraction, you would often hear coaches talk about like you have to kind of like become equal to the vibration of the thing that you want to draw into your life, right? You'd hear that. Like, and it's kind of this idea of like you're vibrating at a certain frequency and you want to like attract things into your life. You have to like maybe modify your frequency and maybe modify your thoughts and your feeling states. But law of assumption goes even farther than that. And it's pretty interesting because law of assumption actually is not a new concept. It's a pretty old concept. And you can go on YouTube and watch old Neville Goddard videos. Well, they're new videos, but they're basically made of old talks that he gave. They're using AI and stuff to create like audio and video files now of his old talks that he gave on this. So he was way before his time. And he was basically talking about reality being like this. Like the Matrix, or like Doctor Strange, or like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where you've got like, I mean, and he was coming from a time when everybody was Christian and they were kind of referencing the Bible and stuff like that. So he was saying, hey, like you're missing, I think there's something in the Bible or in the story of Jesus or in these stories or whatever that's actually trying to tell you something about your own power as a human being in relationship to reality, not the way that you guys are taking it, right? And so he was really ahead of his time. And the idea is like creation was like a one-time thing, that it's all happened already. So all time and space, like time is not linear. Everything has already happened. This is like what a lot of these new movies are based on, this kind of theory, where you have access to any timeline, anything, every possibility has already happened. All past and future and every potentiality has already occurred. So living in this kind of field, you can access different timelines and different potential outcomes by attuning yourself to them. Okay, so much fun, right? So much fun to play with, so much fun to see yourself in a dynamic version of reality like that, which is really hard to kind of shift over into, because we were raised being taught that like everything around us is real, everything around us is solid, we're the victim of everything happening and we can't control it. Even systems like astrology, which I'm super interested in and study, kind of leave us with this impression that like, I don't know, I've always kind of thought of astrology as like this grand clockwork, you know, like, you know, the old clocks or timepieces you would see with all different sizes of moving parts that were all like moving at the same time, but at different speeds and in different sizes of their rotations, and somehow they were all moving together and generating time. I kind of see astrology like that, as like all these moving parts in the universe kind of moving together and having these different relationships that kind of generate experiences on the planet and influence our emotions and what energies we're experiencing that cause people to react and respond and do different things if they're not conscious and they're not like consciously choosing how to interact with those energies, right? But law of assumption is like, well, I'm going to refer back to Neville Goddard a lot because it was his theory and he's brilliant. And you really should just go listen to him whenever you want to kind of allow I want to call it a philosophy, but it's like a theory of of reality. Like, if you want to live according to this theory of reality and put it to the test, really. Practice this in your life and see what happens. You know, he was coming from this Christian context. So he was saying things like, you know, God is like the original creator or whatever. Like, that's in you. Like, it's not something outside of you that you should be like praying to. Like, you already are like connected inherently to the creative force in the universe. And you're a creator. You have the ability to consciously create here while you're here. And so I made this little drawing, like this little sketch, like a week or so ago in my morning journaling, because I was like, sometimes I have trouble adjusting my own mind over to it, and I'll fall back into feeling like I'm the victim instead of like a conscious creator. And so I made this little drawing because it helps me snap back into like, oh yeah, like what if, you know? So imagine that imagine that before you were born here, before you came into a body, you and a whole bunch of people came to this studio. You won a lottery to be able to play this game, and there are beings from all over the galaxy, different planets, different systems, different types of life forms, all who want so badly a chance to play this game. And it's like a VR, virtual reality, total immersive experience game. The best virtual reality game in the universe. And if you win a chance to play this game, you go into this place and there's like a hallway. This is my drawing. There's like a hallway filled with rooms. Like when you go to karaoke or something, imagine like you're like, there's like millions of these doors, and you get a ticket for like door number 1102 or something. And you go into room 1102, and it's just this little tiny room, and there's nothing in there, and just four walls and you. But when it starts, you like go on the ride of your life, and you basically project into the whole experience of being born here and living a lifetime here. So you see everything like a hologram. Like, think about those old Star Trek episodes where they would go into the hologram, the holodeck, right? And they would talk to the AI and tell it what they wanted to experience, and it would create reality all around them, and they'd be in there for an hour or two or whatever and have all these crazy experiences. And it was all VR, right? Use some of these concepts to help you understand how law of assumption works, because basically it's like that. It's like being born here as a human, you're on the ride of your life. And you are a conscious creator, and everything inside of you is playing out around you all the time. It's all being generated from within you and projecting outwards into this amazing hologram. And you know, you get to choose all these things before you come in, right? Who your parents are and what kind of experiences you want to have. You check all the boxes and away you go, right? Having the ride of your life. And once you're in here, you're basically at the center of this creation that has every single timeline of every single choice, every single potentiality has already exploded in the Big Bang. Like, it's all created. And you are a conscious player. You can move between timelines. You can move like anywhere, any direction. You can go anywhere in the universe you want to go. You can go into lower frequencies. You can go into higher frequencies. You can take the timeline where you did this thing, that thing, whatever you want to do. And the way that you control your version of the game is by controlling your subconscious. Like your subconscious is like you in that room back in wherever that is. That empty room, you can't see, you're in that room. Your subconscious doesn't see all of this around you. It just generates. All of this is around you generates based on what's contained in your subconscious. So that's why it's called the law of assumption, because you don't experience what you're attracting vibrationally exactly. You don't experience what you think you want to experience. You don't experience what you put on your vision board as a list that you think about once a weekend. You're literally constantly generating the experiences of the hologram and navigating timelines and potential like changes in direction and options as you go through the game based on your assumptions. Your assumptions about yourself, who you are, what you deserve, what you're worthy of, what kinds of relationships you can have, what's possible. It's all based on what you believe. So the way that you navigate and change things out there is by changing things in here. And the way that you do that is through inner work of self-examination, where if you see, and I'll give examples so that it starts to make more sense, but if you see something in the outer world that you don't like, if you're having an experience that's painful, if you're having trouble at work, you having trouble with a boss or a coworker, instead of trying to fix it out there, you come back inside yourself and you start doing self-examination. What is that representing? What is the conflict? You know, what is in me? What is that in me? What is that in me? So Neville Goddard talks about something called, you'll hear people say, everything is you pushed out. Everything is you pushed out. So if you see something out there, or you're trying to change things out there, or you're trying to get somewhere out there, you have to go inside and find what's going on in here and change that to change what's outside you, right? But I think a lot of people get really confused about the concept, like, everything is you pushed out. What is that? Like, that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Like, what do you mean everything is me pushed out? Like, it's kind of confusing. But something Neville Goddard used to say that I think is a lot easier to understand is, it's your inner conversations pushed out. So let me give you an example. All day long, I'm thinking in my head, in my self-talk, God, I hate this job. I really hate this job. I've been working in this job for so many years. I hate this job so much. Like, this job sucks. My boss is such a jerk. He's so mean. He's always on my case. Like, he's so unfair. He favors those other people. Like, I just don't like this job. And then you go for lunch with your friends and you say, I hate this job. My boss is such a jerk. Like, and on the weekends you go out with your girlfriends and you're like, yeah, my job sucks and all this stuff happened this week and like, I just hate my job and like my boss is so horrible. And so your conversations constantly are, I hate this job. The job sucks. I don't like my boss. I don't get along with my boss. My boss is unfair. My boss doesn't treat me well. I don't get along with my boss. So that is going to continue to generate because you're manifesting it with your inner conversations. Okay, let me give another example. In your relationship with your significant other, which a lot of people in the online these days they call SP, significant person, okay, SP, significant person, a significant other, doesn't matter, but your special person, okay? They have like a whole like bunch of different personality traits and qualities, right? So there's some that you love that really drew you when you were dating or whatever, that caused you want to commit to this person. And then there's others that as you got to know them over time, like you didn't like certain qualities or personality traits or things about them you didn't like about them. It could be little things like they don't take out the garbage, and I wish that they would take out garbage, because when I was growing up in my house, like my dad always took out the garbage, and like now I'm with this person and like he never takes out the garbage and I have to do it and it's smelly and I hate it, and I like nobody in my house had to do that. Like, why doesn't he just do it? If I ask him, he doesn't do it, blah blah blah, blah. So you keep harping on this in your head. He's so selfish. He never takes out the garbage. He's so selfish. I can't stand that he never takes out the garbage. He never does this. He's doing this to me on purpose. He's just so selfish. He never thinks about me. He doesn't care about me. Okay, and it spirals into this self-talk that you've got going on constantly inside yourself, where you're like, he doesn't care about me. He's so selfish. I never get what I want. I can't get what I want with this person. Okay, and so that's what you're generating. Like, you're generating more and more of whatever you're focusing on, right? So you hear people say, oh, whatever you focus on grows. Well, it's similar, right? In science, they've been talking a lot in therapy and neuroscience about the reticular activating system, which is just that your brain, its tendencies, how it functions from a scientific point of view, is that whatever you are focusing on, your brain will look for more and more evidence of in your environment, and it will keep like making, like that stuff will stand out to you, and it will tune out other things. So if you're focusing constantly on the fact that your person doesn't take out the trash, and you're telling yourself constantly in your head and in your inner conversations all day long, and to your girlfriends whenever you complain, that your person is selfish and doesn't care about you and doesn't do things to make your life easier, you will keep looking for evidence to like back up those beliefs. So the next thing that they do, you'll be like, oh, that's evidence, like they are selfish, like really selfish, like they must be a narcissist. You know, like, you know, if that person took out the trash one time, you wouldn't even notice, because you're so focused on the fact that they never take out the trash and they're so selfish and they don't care about you. You've been building all this evidence in your inner file folder of all the things that they do that prove that they are selfish and that they don't care about you. That person could be like making you a cup of tea every day, or filling up your car with gas every week, and you wouldn't even be noting that, because you have a file folder that says that person is selfish, and I'm gathering evidence to prove that that's right. Okay, so that is just science. That's just the reticular activating system, which is the way our brain tends to work. But it's also law of assumption, because you're building a case in your reality for those assumptions, which are that person is selfish, that person doesn't care about me, that person never does things to make my life easier, and then you're not noticing anything else. Whereas if you switched your assumption to this person does care about me, this person does things to make my life easier, and then started gathering evidence for that file folder, guaranteed there will be evidence to put in there. It might take you a little bit of time to like switch gears or like switch the train tracks, you know, but like you could do it, and it would change your experience of reality. And guaranteed, if you started noticing that over and over and telling that person, like, wow, like, I noticed that every Sunday, like, you take the cars to the what do you call it, the gas station, and like fill up the cars with gas and wash the windows and stuff for the next work week. Like, thank you for doing that. Like, that makes my life so much easier. Guaranteed, if you started noticing those things and just expressing gratitude to people for the things that you're noticing that they're doing to make your life easier, you're going to start having the experience of your life being made easier by other people. Right? Like, it would make a big difference in your experience that you were having and your mood, for sure. And your level of suffering, right? Like, it would make a really big difference. Okay, so that's just like one very small example to help you kind of start to see a little bit how it's different than law of attraction. Okay, so for law of attraction, I might say, I want a new car, or I want a new house, or I want to go on this trip to this place in Europe. You know, I want a new job, or like a career promotion. And you might like create this vision board and like cut out all these things and like paste them on there. And that's your new vision for your life. And you'd like your life to kind of start going that direction. And so you focus on it. And you're kind of like maybe more open to opportunities, or looking for opportunities that are going to lead you in that direction towards it, right? But law of assumption would be like, it's quite different. Like, okay, so imagine this. I want to shift to the timeline where I have that job. I want to become the version of myself that went and lived in that country. I want to experience the timeline where I have a lot of money and I have really nice things. So the way that you make those kind of changes with law of assumption is you do something called living in the end. Living in the end means you use your imagination to imagine yourself already at the end of whatever you're trying to get to. So I would imagine myself with that car, or that job, or what else did I say? Traveling to that country. Being a version of myself that has a lot more wealth and abundance in my life, like more money and nicer things and like a better lifestyle or whatever than what I currently have. Like I would use my imagination to imagine myself in that end position. And then I would practice consistently and regularly feeling the feelings in my body that I feel having attained that desired outcome. And then I would begin to say things in my inner conversations that are from that end state. So I might say things like, I remember when I didn't have much money. I'm so glad that I have all this money. For me, like, I don't often manifest like objects like that, so I'm getting a little bit blank on those ones. Like, you can drop your statements in the comments for things you're using or that you've tried or whatever for other people to read. for me, I often work on feeling states. Like I've been doing a lot of self